Welcome everyone. We're excited to have you join us today for the latest webinar of the NightWatch Master Integrator series, Unlocking the Future, Innovations in Access Control with Motorola Solutions. My name is Unity and I am the marketing specialist here at NightWatch, and I'll also be your NightWatch host for the day. So you may be wondering how we got started with this webinar series. In today's fast-evolving world, staying ahead in security requires expert insights, practical strategies, and real-world solutions. This series is designed to bring you helpful information, best practices, innovations, and actionable tips to help enhance your organization's security systems. So first, we will start with introductions, then we'll go into the Motorola Solutions presentations, followed by a demo. Then we'll transition into the Q&A function, or the Q&A, which will be at the end after the demo presentation and everything. I encourage you to use the Q&A function to answer any questions you have throughout the webinar, and we'll address them at the time allotted at the end. So stay tuned and have your questions ready, and please give a warm welcome to our presenting partner, Motorola Solutions.
Thank you, Unity. Hello, everybody. I'm going to do a quick introduction. I'm Matt Brooks. I'm the Regional Channel Director for Ohio and Michigan. With me today, I have Sean Harmon, who is our Channel Account Manager in West Michigan. And we also have Mark Hewitt, who is our Access Control Specialist, our subject matter expert for all things access control, credentials, and the cloud. So today's topics, these are the things that we wanted to discuss in overall why people are moving from their legacy access control system over to cloud-based access control systems. What are some of the advancements within credentials, advancements with people using automated identity management syncs, as well as our app marketplace, which allows us to have over 100 connected apps to our cloud-based access control system. So I wanted to start here today to talk around just the evolution of access control, going from our traditional keys through people using pin pads as pin-only modes, into prox cards, and into smart credentials. So with this whole timeline, we still have tons of different variations of this out in production today. People are using traditional keys, still very, very common. And also we're going to talk around some different card technologies and why people need to replace legacy technology and move to a more secure technology. So the security of our access control really starts with the credentials we use. And frankly, the technology most of the world still relies on is deeply vulnerable. So I want you to focus on two numbers today. We're going to focus on 125 kilohertz and 13.56 megahertz. So the 125 kilohertz is the operating frequency for older prox cards, the ones that have been in the industry standards for decades. Here's the problem. This technology is unsecured and easily cloned. A Flipper Zero can be purchased online and can copy the data from one of these cards in seconds. If your organization is still using 125 kilohertz proximity cards, you are running a security risk because these cards are simple, unencrypted, and easily compromised. So now we're going to transition over to the more secure cards, which are the 13.56 megahertz. This is the frequency used by modern smart card technology. These cards use advanced encryption and secure communication protocols, making them exponentially more difficult to clone. So when we talk about security, simply moving to the 13.56 megahertz smart cards is the absolute minimum step we should be taking. An old security director once told me, if the door has a card reader, we should also ensure the cards are secure as well. More and more folks too, are as you're transitioning from unsecure cards to new secure cards, this is also a moment in time to really consider how would you adopt mobile credentials as a secure technology for your organization. So moving to a more secure credential is a great first step, but security not come at the expense of convenience. This is where mobile access comes into play. Mobile credentials using your smartphone represent a pivotal shift in both security and usability. Think about the cumbersome process of rebadging or issuing a new physical card every time a card is lost, damaged, or a person's role changes. It's a logistical headache and a cost center. Mobile access is dramatically simpler. It can be provisioned instantly, revoked instantly, and managed digitally with incredible ease. For end users, it is one less thing to carry, And for your administration team, it removes countless manual steps. This ease of use is critical for driving adoption of more secure credentials and at a minimum, hopefully moving at least to 13.56 megahertz. One thing we'll also discuss is how card readers also are a point of vulnerability, not just the card. So we talk about the communication from the reader itself to the panel. So I'm going to introduce you to a concept you may have not heard of called OSDP. I think of this as the foundation of modern security. So OSDP is the Open Supervised Device Protocol. This is the new modern standard for how readers on the wall communicate to the access control panel in a secure location. Legacy weakened protocol often communicates in plain text, meaning that anyone who intercepts the wiring can read the information being passed, essentially performing a man-in-the-middle attack. OSDP, on the other hand, is the most secure communication protocol available today. It supports two-way, encrypted, and supervised communication. What I mean by supervised means that the panel always knows the reader is online and functioning correctly, and it also helps prevent any active tampering. Overall, in summary, protecting our assets requires 3 moves: abandoning the unsecured 125 kilohertz technology, adopting the 3.56 megahertz prox cards and mobile credentials for convenience and a seamless transition. Also, ensuring that OSDP is the secure communication backbone between every reader and the panel in your system. I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to my colleague and with the next slide. Go ahead, Mark. Come off mute.
Thanks, Matt. No, that was, I appreciate your comments on kind of the evolution of credentials. And obviously this slide is somewhat self-explanatory, but what I wanted to do is highlight something that Avigilon Alta is patented for, and that's our triple unlock technology. So, as you can see here, most Bluetooth readers, through, whatever system that may be, is predominantly relying on Bluetooth as the mode of communication. We actually use 3 modes of communication. Of course, this is in the background, so we're using Wi-Fi, LTE, as well as Bluetooth to ensure that connection to the reader and authentication occurs instantly. And also too, it also helps that user experience that when you present your badge, either as a tap to unlock, or we also have a technology that we could talk more if it comes up in questions and answers, but a wave to unlock. So we call that our convenience mode. So again, don't need to take the phone out to tap to unlock, but again, we can adjust the range accordingly so that user experience is second to none in terms of walking up to the reader and getting through using our Bluetooth credential. I also want to mention too, in the other slides, we do have currently Apple Wallet, and soon, I believe it is Android, as far as Samsung, and then Google Wallet as well. That's coming this year. So transitioning to our Bluetooth technology, our employee badge, which is the wallet. What's really nice about this is, with Bluetooth credentials, if your phone dies, this is what we normally get questions on. If my phone dies, can I still use my phone as a credential? Well, in theory, no, because there's no way for that Bluetooth communication to go between the phone and the reader. But what's really nice with Apple Wallet is we have what's called Express Mode and Power Reserve. So essentially, you don't even have to open up the app. You just present it to the reader, and it will let you in, assuming that you have proper credentials and authority to open that door. The Power Reserve is if your phone does die, you still have that ability to unlock a door, because typically with iPhones, there is a small reserve used in the phone, and that will allow you still to get through the door. It's something I struggle with. My phone dies all the time. So Apple Wallet really is a good fit for me. But again, just letting you know that we have Bluetooth credentials as well as Apple Wallet presently. And something I wanted to mention, it's something I can't display here today, but we sell other solutions with Bluetooth technology. Our Bluetooth technology and how we create the credential is within seconds. So, when you're giving someone either a card or a fob, we still can obviously support that, is I can create a mobile credential instantly and push that to, the email address associated with that user. And then obviously through that invite, you get to go to the Apple Store or to the Google Store to download the app. And then what's really nice as well is with the mobile app, if you have permissions, you can share guest passes. And again, this is for, it can be used for contractors. It could be used for, depending on what vertical you're in, or visitors, right? So again, they don't have to download our app. They get a secure invite from the user that's sharing that, what we call digital guest pass. And it's, we can set it for an hour, we can set it for 15 minutes. And it's really handy, and it harnesses our Bluetooth technology with our mobile app. And then lastly, what I want to talk about is the multi-factor authentication. Again, I like to think of areas like secure areas in terms of IDFs, closets, or, maybe it's the top executives room where, again, we're going to create even more security where, you have to unlock your phone, and then whether that's through Face ID or Touch ID, and then even if you had a keypad, you could do a PIN as well as a mobile credential. So that's a little bit about our mobile and smart credentials. I think the real power is if you see it, how easy we can deploy these, and then even to having that experience at our reader. I think this is a huge benefit with our solution is we have a plethora of, we call it IDP or automated user sync. Again, maybe this isn't ideal for people that have only 10, 20 users. It is an extra add-on, but the nice thing about it is whether you're using Entra ID, if you're using Google Workspace, Workday, there is quite a few solutions we have that where you can manage your users instead of doing it the old school way as manually updating the database. And obviously, a lot of people still do that for the one-offs, whether it's contractors, guests, and so forth. So again, this really takes the burden of people manually managing database, right? Because I think, in the access control space, normally it's the biggest pain is, how easy is it for you to manage users? And really this identity provider really checks that box if the organization's big enough. And then again, what's nice with, typically what happens if an employee is let go, it's the real-time reactivation is, I can deactivate that badge instantaneous. I don't have to run over, and again, this is usually driven by HR. Again, if we need to shut the rights off at the computer and also their badge, this all can be done from HR and pushed down to our access control system. And again, this would be whether it's Azure or now formerly known as Azure, it's now Entra ID. And then, I'm talking about revoking someone's permissions, but think about the onboarding experience. Again, there's so much that goes in place when HR is, creating the user in the system, what computer access do they have? What doors do they have access? Again, this all can be managed through what we call the IDP. And then lastly is a single sign-on. So again, usually it's not a plethora of users, whether it's 2, 10, 20 admins that have access to the back end of the site. We can utilize single sign-on. So, they're using that same sign-on that they're using perhaps for their Windows applications, and then can use that as well with the IDP to use the same password. So you're not managing different, having kind of like your piece of paper, in your pocket, what's my password for this solution and this solution. Again, we can simplify things by using single sign-on.
Before we move on, just some real world feedback of where we see this as the biggest advantage of why people are upgrading their legacy access control and moving to new modern access control and using the identity sync is just take a quick look at your access control database and see how many active cardholders you have comparatively to the size of your organization. We constantly go to work with people and their clients have 1,000 active employees, but their access control database has 10,000 users. Obviously, there's still 9,000 users over time that have not been cleaned up or managed. This is a big industry trend. And if you ask most IT folks, they would probably say that their legacy access control system is probably the least managed database in their entire technology stack. And that's just history for everyone else that we've come from a facilities group over to IT. access controls always kind of lived in a silo. Now we're really bridging the gap of the access control data where people can come and go. What department are you in? Do you have the right access? Is it always temporary? Is it long term? And this allows us to have a simplified process, up to date information, and keeping us all in compliance with our security of our access control system tied to one of these systems.
Thank you, Matt. So I'm going to pick up where they left off with the app marketplace. I know Matt and Mark already kind of touched on it. We have over 100 different APIs written today with different apps that we work with. This is going to give you kind of an overview of some of the most commonly used ones. For example, Workday, Lively for apartment communities, and then move my screen out of the way here. Apologize, Communico. So again, it's a vibrant ecosystem. It's ever growing. The list continues to grow, and we at Avigilon don't require any kind of cost or charge to write an API and integrate with our access control platform. And we're an open platform. So I'm going to show you in a second some of the different, APIs and different apps that we have that we work with. And again, this was all done on the side of that company, write an integration to work seamlessly with our access control platform. All right, X out of that. All right, so what I'm in right now is our access control platform. You're seeing the interface right here. This is our Texas facility where we do our manufacturing down in Allen, Texas. I'm going to go to the app tab. And again, like we've already talked about a lot of these, but for example, using Apple Wallet for that mobile credential experience, precise biometrics. As we moved out to our identity management, again, we've already talked about a lot of these, but Google Workspace, Okta, Workday, Entra ID, these are going to be really important for end users to be able to have this experience and have these easy integrations right from the App Store. If you are using Slack currently, that's another integration we have. And again, I foresee other integrations with Teams and things of that nature as well. So as I'm kind of going through this list, I'd like you to think about what are you currently using today at your facility? What different platforms would be a good integration with our access control platform? Because again, it's continuing to grow, and we lean on you as the end user to give us that feedback and work to create that application. Obviously, visitor management is a huge one in most entities. So again, we're looking at Envoy. Our Alta Visitor platform obviously works with that, but Yardi is another big one I know in the multi-tenant space. Again, moving down, we've got different integrations even with Milestone, for example. Again, just speaking to the openness of our platform and the ease of creating these APIs. Wireless locks with Schlag locks, moving down to mass notification. So we at Motorola, we do own Rave, so obviously that's going to be an integration, but we've also got integrations with Everbridge, Raptor, again, names that we encounter and work with very commonly on the physical security side. So with that, I'm going to bounce back to the home screen. So with access control, obviously there's a ton of functionality. You can get very deep and in the weeds with it. But for me and for us, we have some really exciting new, developments in the access control space. And what we're doing is we're leveraging the power of AI within the access control platform to give you real actionable data, do audits, even enter users. So I'm going to flip over and show that real quick. We call it our assist feature. So I'm going to activate it. And when it queues up, it's going to give me some different queues like pre-can searches that I could do if it fits my need in my facility. So just for the sake of the example here, I'm going to say, what can you do? I want to know what this assist feature can actually help me with in a day-to-day operation at my facility. So as it thinks, it's going to pop up really quick here, obviously for me today, but I can do all these different things with this platform with Alta Assist. User management, creating new users in the system, looking up current user information, receiving, access control history. So door patterns, where was a certain subject at, what doors were used most commonly today at my facility, different data. and then again, running reports on that. You can even have it tell you your data and privacy and provide information on that in your practices. So I'm going to ask it, what was the most used door at my facility over the past hour? Again, I can see this being extremely beneficial to you at your site as you're wanting to go and do a forensic review of, what doors we use in my facility. Do I need to denote different manpower to that location? Do I need to, be aware or review footage from that area? But again, over the last hour here, it tells me at Allen, Texas, the front entrance, not surprisingly, was the most used with 99.5% of the activity. It even breaks it down to when did this activity occur? And then I have the ability to, right from here, ask it to give me snapshots of those folks that have come and gone from that door. So I'm going to ask, what last door that Evan Partro used? I'm going to pick on him. I'm going to ask you, what door did Evan use today? What was the last door that he entered through? So again, traditionally, you have to go in, do an audit, go through your different logs to get this information. Now I can, in a large language model, ask it that question and have it give me the data very quickly. So again, apparently he used the front entrance. It was at 451 UTC. So again, that for me is very exciting because we're taking the power of AI and giving it to our access control platform. Traditionally, it wasn't even an option. We had no way to do this and do these kind of searches. But again, the real power really lies within your access control platform and then marrying it up to your video as well. So I'm going to show you that real quick. I'm just going to pick on a different person. Let's pick on Taylor rather. So I want to see the video clip associated from when Taylor went through the door. I'm going to open this up so we can see better what time that was. So at 11:52 a.m., he went through the door. I can obviously pull up his information there if I need to, delete the user, whatever I have to do on that side of the fence. But I'm just going to click on the video clip. What it's doing right now is it's pulling me over to our Alta Video platform, and it's going to show me that clip associated with that door swipe. So again, extremely powerful if you got to go back and do a review of, was it Taylor? Was it Sean Harmon that entered my door? And if so, at what time was that information gathered?
Well, Sean, that's pretty powerful. If you think about most people's access control systems, we have to go run manual reports, scrub those reports, kind of filter it out and send that out. Now, just in our natural language, we can ask our access control systems real world questions and get quick responses. I mean, this is pretty revolutionary for us in access control. And the feature that you showed today is available in our cloud as well as our on-prem. So both of our access control platforms are going to have this live assist feature to help people create schedules, modify users, talk to essentially the data tables in which we have in the background, as well as just create an overall ease of use. To me, this also helps with the training for staff that have augmented staff, people coming and going all the time. Having this live assist feature also should help with, different shift trainings.
Thank you all for the insights you've provided on the innovations in access control as well as the demo. It was all very insightful. So the first question is, for organizations currently running legacy on-premise systems, what does a phased migration to cloud based on access control typically look like, and how do you minimize disruption during that transition?
No, great question. A lot of people have to really start with the hardware level of what hardware can be repurposed from the migration. So it's a mixed bag of what's been out there in production. We can reuse some components. Some components I would also encourage folks to update their hardware for security vulnerabilities, as well as lifetime warranty, ease of use, and more feature functions. But when you look at an access control migration, moving over the users is the first step that people need to really evaluate. So you really take an approach with evaluating the hardware, looking at what data do I want to repurpose or do I start over. This is where the identity sync is a really valuable tool for folks who are migrating their access control system. We can connect to Workday, we can connect to Entra and pull in all the relative user information we need before we even migrate the first door. And then to me, it's always building a good migration strategy as to where do you start with the inner least secure doors. I never would cut over the pedestrian gate or the front door. You would start with the doors that have the lowest threshold of active users, or excuse me, throughput, I should say. So really kind of starting there and allowing that to grow over door by door, which is nice. A lot of people also look at this time too to essentially look at their infrastructure. A lot of people are moving from old serial connection over to IP connection. So great ways of really looking at migration from hardware to users and to overall infrastructure.
With mobile credentials replacing physical cards, how does your platform address cybersecurity risks, phone loss, device compromise, or credential spoofing?
Unity, great question. And I think I touched a little bit on it with using Bluetooth credentials, right? You have that threshold. If your phone dies, in theory, your phone's not going to be operational until you can restore power. I said that's kind of my pain point, but the nice thing with mobile credentials, or call it Apple Wallet, is you do have that ability with low power to still get through doors, even though your phone, you can't make a phone call. And I think too, right, the whole with cybersecurity and cloning and data is cards are very easy to clone if they're procs, right? And then unfortunately, we see it day in, day out that people, they might have a legacy system and they like that 3 to 4 inches range that they can just stick their wallet up. And of course, really, when you get to a more secure card, right, you lose that range because it has to be right up against the reader. So, and with phones, right, less people are less likely to share their phone with someone, right? So you see less piggybacking, less tailgating, if you will. So, and again, I don't have all the credentials from cybersecurity, but we do use, Matt, you could quote me on this. It's I know we use both AWS and Google, so we're going to apply to those standards with data retention and cybersecurity. So I think overall, right, we see mobile credentials slowly migrating where, I know some customers will be like, well, they're using their personal phone, right? That might be a concern because some employees might push back saying, well, you supply me a phone. But at the end of the day, I think we can do a hybrid approach. And a lot of the top executives, right, want that real ease of use because, all of us know here, if we leave the house without our wallet, if we have our phone, we're pretty much able to continue business as usual. So I think from a security standpoint as well, right? People have their phones very rarely. I see people not using cases, but I see people using PIN codes or facial ID, right? So, I think it's a huge push. And, as more and more people get comfortable with mobile credentials, it's the future really. And it's even less expensive to push a mobile credential than it is for a card. A card could be $7-10 a piece. And again, some people don't always report that they lost their card, right? So there is potential, especially if you print on the card, right? Someone has a key, like it's like dropping a brass key and it has your address on it. So that's how I'd answer, your comments regarding mobile credentials and security.
Then the final question that I have for you all is, you mentioned the cross-department synchronization. Can you share a real-world example of how integrating security, IT, HR, or other departments and facilities on one platform improved efficiency or reduced operational costs?
Yeah, I'll take that one. So for us, the way that I look at it from a cross department is we'll start with IT and HR. When you're a new employee and you're getting your domain account created, you become essentially an employee ID. The folks that are entering this information into their systems like Workday, they never even have to log in to the access control platform in order to perform their job functions of onboarding a new colleague or offboarding a colleague. So this is very nice that when their native system of Workday or Entra, using that every day that's life for them. Being able to provision people's access and revoke their access is extremely powerful. And then also just the ease of use of mobile. Having a mobile app on your phone, not always requiring a VPN, not always have to know that you're on the corporate land to be able to access these systems. So for folks that are commute a lot for work, be able to, while they're out in transit, pull up the system, do lockdown functions, add or delete users, or see the real-time health status. For facilities folks, that's very impactful that they can quickly see if they have a bunch of work tickets coming in today for a door issue. They can quickly look on their mobile device and see if the door is even online and just do quick diagnostics. So being able to touch every different department with an ease of use, as well as knowing that not everyone even has to log into the system to be adding value and synchronizing data, I think is really helpful, especially when you start looking at multiple site architecture. Also, going to the cloud removes the need for on-site appliances or servers or building regional communication servers in the background. So allowing Google and AWS to do that lift for all of us and essentially go into a serverless deployment also really helps manage the life cycle of these assets. Access control to me is an asset management. And the more that we can get people to adopt mobile and virtual technology, it's just going to be easier for us to manage from an asset perspective.
Firstly, I'd like to say a special thank you to Matt, Sean, and Mark for joining us and sharing with us the new ways access control can create a smarter, more connected, future-ready security strategy without adding complexity. We hope you found this session informative and helpful for future decision-making. Thank you all to those who also attended this webinar. We hope you found it insightful during today's session. With that, thank you all so much for joining today's webinar, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day.